Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Leonard McGander with Cinity, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. I know that's a mouthful, but today I have the pleasure of talking with Diane Schmidt, Head of Enterprise Data Governance at London Exchange Group, and as well as she is a data student. And that is not a misstatement. I did not mean data steward. I meant data student. And I hope I got a smile out of her when I said that, and I did. So, Diane, I am sure that everyone has heard of the London Stock Exchange brand. It's well known. What people may not realize is that the group is more than just the London Stock Exchange, on which it's listed, by the way. So maybe start with just telling us a little bit about who LSEG is.
Sure. LSEG, the London Stock Exchange Group, is really part of the financial infrastructure. It is now also a data provider. There are a number of businesses throughout LSEG that again sort of enables customers to enable their customers. So we have really been around for at least 300 years in some form or fashion. And essentially it is an exciting brand. It is an exciting time to be part of such a large and prestigious company.
So you're responsible for data governance there, and that's a super cool area, right? But the scope of these jobs with that title can be extremely broad. So what I'm curious is for you to define that a little bit better for us, better than just Chief Requirements Officer, as a tagline you also like to use. So is it, I got another smile, master data management? Is it metadata management? Is it analytics? Is it other? Give me a sense of what that means to you.
I think it means a lot of things to a lot of different people. There are lots of approaches, to certainly take to implementing or to defining, designing, implementing data governance. To me, it's all about having the right people with the right access to the right data to do the right thing. And that's really in an organized manner, in a governed manner, so that the ecosystem is a trusted one and one that you can certainly pass on that confidence to customers. So they can enable their customers. It's, yes, there are approaches to doing that. Does that mean policy and standards? Does that mean controls? Does that mean cataloging and understanding metadata? Yes, to all of it. I think that depending on the company, depending upon, what your business priorities are, how much money you have, how much funding you have, whether you have, regulatory obligations, really helps to sort of drive, to really drive the program. So, and again, what the direction of travel is.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It makes sense. Let's get a little bit more specific, right? And the way people describe business problems today, right, is what, the product and the process. But I really want to start out a little bit with the people, right? I see you've been at LSEG for over 3 years. In that time, you've managed to build out a new team, establish the first data group policy, right? Huge accomplishment. How did you get everyone on board with the standards and how to manage data?
I would just say executable strategy. I think the strategy and the plan, you have to be proactive. You've got to be predictable. You've got to be able to anticipate, and you've got to drive the agenda. It's instead of, you don't want to be reactive. I think it's really important. New things are happening all the time, new services, new products, new opportunities. And the strategy really needs to constantly adapt to what's happening in the company, to handle change in the business environment. So I think, certainly getting everyone on, getting everyone on board, with the strategy, with the program, the roadmap is hard. But I think when you're able to go back to the strategy, to how the strategy supports the business and the business benefits, that dialogue changes in terms of the role and having the CDO function and data governance drive that agenda, and essentially where you end up with that after a period of time is you start hearing it in the hallway, and you start hearing people say what you say. And part of that is communication and training, but it takes time, it takes education, and again, I sort of go back to that living, breathing strategy that you reuse over and over again.
So you use the word agile. I appreciate that. Business changes so fast, so you can't get beholden to one thing and drive it for years if the environment changes. You talked about it as a journey. It takes time to mature, right? So you have to be reasonable expectations. And I think that's why you said executable strategy, but you connected that executable strategy, to business outcomes. Love that, right? That's a hallmark of Cindy, where I come from. But what I'm interested in is, do you have any examples of where you've measured that outcome over time to try to help you gain and do stakeholder management and keep the sponsorship, those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think, measurements and metrics and, all of those things, you've got to start somewhere. So when we first started and we had, a small team, we started with a few metrics. What can you count? Yes. What are the types of things you can count, and start there? Is it the number of is it the number of data governance subcommittee meetings that you've had? Is it the number of critical data elements that you have and that are aligned with data owners? I think over time you are able to, really understand the health and well-being of the data through certainly metrics and measures. One measure that we're working on now is, conformance to our group data policy, and essentially understanding data literacy and how well people do or don't understand, data management and data governance and their roles. So beginning to assess and understand literacy rates and conformance is something impactful for us, because ultimately there is a direct correlation to that framework as well as maturity and the business benefits. So so that's something, again, we are working on.